I'm Michelle.
And I'm Lucy. Caught in mid-slurp then.
Welcome to a Cameo episode. These episodes of various lengths about people we may or may not have mentioned before, we have mentioned her before, will be slotted in between other episodes and may or may not fill in the gaps and enhance our understanding of the age.
Should do.
And today...
Her name's Ursula. Ursula Germaine de Foix.
What?
But she's always known as Germaine de Foix.
Yeah, I'm excited about her, but I didn't even know her name was Ursula.
No?
Isn't that the name of the Wicked Witch and the Mermaid?
Yep.
Isn't that? Okay, I apologize to everybody out there who's named Ursula, but that's the only person that I've ever heard of named Ursula.
Ursula Andress, the actress in one of the James Bond films.
Really?
That's the other one. That's the other Ursula.
And I don't know her. Okay, I'm really interested in this because we were talking about on Patreon
Ooh.
and Louis, one of the other de Foix,
Yeah.
who married her brother.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to go on to Patreon for that grim story. She was born in 1488. Her mother was Mary of Orleans, the sister of Louis XII. So she was Louis's niece.
Oh.
Both her parents were dead by the time Germaine was just 4.
Gosh. This is sad already.
Well, it gets sadder because the following year the castle she and her brother Gaston were living in caught fire and they were just rescued in time.
His name was Gaston?
Gaston?
From Beauty and the Beast.
Oh, I suppose so. I was thinking of
Gaston.
the ladybird in Ben and Holly, but you probably don't get that in Canada.
No. And ladybirds over here, we call it... I don't know if you're actually talking about a ladybird, which is...
You say a ladybug.
Yeah, ladybug.
Yeah. Yep. It's really extraordinary that we can converse, isn't it? Speaking different languages. But, there was a good side to this. She then went with her brother to the court of Anne of Brittany. And as we know from Anne's episode, she was very keen on educating the girls under her care and finding them good husbands. And so, it could have been worse.
Yes.
Germaine was at the French court when Philippe the Fair and Juana crossed France on their way to Spain. She'd probably met them and probably seen Philip grinding his teeth as Juana was treated like a princess.
Yes.
He wasn't, because he was just the
Archduke.
In 1500, Germaine nearly became Queen of Hungary.
Oh.
It's a Catherine Gordon moment. King Vladislav II had been divorced and was flailing around looking for another wife, preferably with an alliance with France.
Okay.
So the portraits of Germaine and Anne of Foix-Condal, a relative of Germaine, was sent to Vladislav, and he chose Anne. So Anne got to be Queen of Hungary.
Okay, was this a good thing? Because Hungary was about to be invaded by the Ottomans. She might have been like, whew,
well, I think
that one.
there seem to be a few things with Germaine where you think, oh dear, that's terrible. Oh no, that was probably quite a good... Yes.
Yeah.
Oh no, you're a castle
sorry
court
you were
fire. Oh,
upset,
but you got to live in the court. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, it can't be nice. When both your portraits are sent and he says, no, I'll have that one. You say, oh.
Yeah.
All right. In 1504, Isabella of Castile died, and her husband, Ferdinand, vowed that he would never, ever marry again.
For 22 minutes.
Yeah, later he was backpedaling like the clappers and said that he would need to marry again just for the good of the country, since he needed an heir.
Yeah, and I would like somebody young and beautiful, please.
Yes. Well, she can't have been as nice as Anne. And it wasn't really true, since Ferdinand already had his 3 grandsons, including Charles and little Ferdinand.
Yes, it's true.
If he had another male heir, it would probably just muddy the waters, because it had been assumed by not only Ferdinand but also Maximilian that the grandsons would inherit everything. And he starts breeding again. it's going to cause a lot of resentment.
Yeah, you're going to have to split up something.
Yeah, and he's already doing that between those two.
Mm-hmm.
So it was either really badly thought out, or it was a malevolent act on Ferdinand's part. And I don't think he's above that sort of thing.
No, but why malevolent?
Well, what I think he was worried about was that he shared his grandsons with Maximilian, but a son would be his completely.
Ah.
Yeah, Maximilian was not at all happy with Ferdinand's potential French alliance and started throwing Austrian ladies at him. Saying, no, have one of these. Quick. Have one of these.
I'm just seeing women flying through the air, the dresses flying up.
But given that Ferdinand had just fallen out with Philip the Fair, he wanted a child that wasn't linked to the Habsburgs in any way.
Well, Philip rubbed everybody wrong.
Yeah, he did.
He's not a nice person.
No.
He's not a good person either.
A male heir would disinherit Juana's rights to Castile, and that would really, really annoy Philip.
Would it, though? Because Ferdinand is not of Castile anymore. That's Isabel. That would be something they'd have to end up fighting out. That would definitely start a civil war.
The child would be monarch of Aragon.
Yes, and nobody in Castile liked Ferdinand.
No.
Trying to just give them his child, they might have been like, I don't think so.
Yeah, and not only poor Juana, but Catherine of Aragon as well it would affect, because she'd go further and further down the pecking order and be, of less and less interest to England. You just think, oh, hang on, we've got this also ran now. I mean, what use is it?
Less and less interested for England. The poor woman.
Yeah. The marriage was part of the stipulations of the Second Treaty of Blois. We heard in Pope Julius's episode how Julius rushed down to the seafront to meet Ferdinand when Ferdinand was sailing up from Naples, only to have to stand there and watch him go past.
Goodbye.
Yeah, not making eye contact. We're just going past, yeah.
Oh, how rude.
And he went to meet Louis XII of France. And it was at this meeting that the Treaty of Blois was drawn up and Germaine was suggested as a potential bride. So maybe that's why Ferdinand was sort of keeping his head down, thinking, I don't know how to explain this to the Pope, so I'm just going to keep rowing, boys, keep rowing.
Yeah, aren't they related?
What, the Pope and de Foix?
No, Germaine and Ferdinand. In the Louis Patreon episode for monarchs and nobles.
Tudoriferous Patreon. Hot and spicy.
Isabella de Foix and her brother were first cousins of the Aragon ruling family. That's why he kept fleeing there.
Right. Well,
I'm going to look it up.
Well, we've heard worse, haven't we, since your last episode on, on Louis?
Let's look this up. Yes, Germaine de Foix is his great niece.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Well,
Ooh.
I said we've heard worse, and we are going to hear worse. So brace yourself.
Ew,
Brace
like
yourself.
Okay. Yep, this is not cool.
The Treaty of Blois is a bit confusing, since at first glance it all seems to go Louis's way. And that's not like Ferdinand.
No, but Ferdinand has some sort of back plan. He has to.
If Ferdinand and Germaine had a son, the son would inherit Naples. But
Okay.
if they died childless, Naples would revert to France. So Louis probably, fingers crossed, don't have a child, don't have a child. And it seems either way, France would get a stake in Naples, because either it comes directly to Louis, or you've got a de Foix on the Naples throne. So you've either, one way or another, France has its mitts on Naples. So why did Ferdinand promise so much, since he'd actually already won Naples? He'd got it. Well, the reason for this is because Louis agreed to renounce his stake in Naples. Don't worry, I'm backing away. I'm leaving you alone. I might get it later, But for the time being, you're all right there. You can do what you like.
How does Louis have a stake in Naples? Like the...
Well, maybe it's because Charles VIII had already done the groundwork. He'd gone down there
Right.
and staked his claim. And then when Louis became king, just automatically the French king
Which
carried
Louis
on.
should really be fighting for Milan, because that's actually one he had a claim for.
Oh,
Yeah.
he was, yes.
Hmm.
Germaine also had a stake in the Kingdom of Navarre, and Ferdinand was very interested in the Kingdom of Navarre as part of his plans for the unification of Spain under him.
Yeah, because her grandmother is of Navarre.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It actually
Right.
went to her brother, but her brother dies. And of course, Ferdinand was sticking his fingers up to Maximilian and Philip. You know, you can keep your Australian? You can keep your Austrian ladies. I'm with France. Ferdinand's decision to marry Germaine was very unpopular back in Castile. It was just a month since Isabella had died.
Yep.
And if anything, she had become more venerated since death.
Yep.
I think they'd forgotten what she was really like. The Castilians felt that not only was Ferdinand being disloyal to his late wife, but many Spaniards had just been fighting a war against France. And it shows Ferdinand's intense dislike of Philip that he was prepared to risk the opprobrium of his people to go through with it.
I can't disagree with him on that.
Anyway, Germaine set off for Spain in the snow, and in October 1505 she and Ferdinand were married in Duenas, a town where Ferdinand had spent some time with Isabella when they'd first been married,
Wonderful.
further upsetting those who felt that Isabella's memory had been hard done by. Probably not so great for Germaine, as he kept pointing out places. Oh, yes, this is where we first kissed, and this is where we did that.
And this is where we first slept together. Come join me in bed. Like, what? Great niece.
Great niece, yeah, because Ferdinand was 53. Germaine, 17.
17. Gosh.
If this had all been a dig at Philip the Fair, it backfired. When Philip and Juana arrived on Spanish soil, many of the nobles went over to their side because they were fed up with Ferdinand getting married. If he hadn't married, they might have stayed with him. Ferdinand and Germaine decided to leave because they knew when they weren't wanted. And they went first to Aragon and then to Naples. And as we heard in Ferdinand's episode, he didn't even see Juana when he was in Spain. Didn't even make the effort to see her.
Horrible man.
It turned out they were much more popular in Naples than they had been in Castile, which probably, means they're a bit popular in Naples. They did a grand tour of Naples, and this was when Ferdinand became jealous of the adulation that Gonzalo de Córdoba, El Gran Capitan,
Ole!
was getting, and he recalled him to Spain on the pretense that he was going to get an honour. And the honour never materialised.
Nope.
No, just didn't happen. A little petty.
Oh, so many childish egos here.
In 1506, Philip died, and Ferdinand had Juana locked away, and he was appointed regent. And in May 1509, Germaine de Foix gave birth to a little boy, Juan, the name of Ferdinand's other son, who died.
Yes.
And this one also died after just a few hours.
Well, of course. Grand uncle and great niece. Like, this is not okay.
It's not helping things along, is it, really?
No, genetically, this is...
Childbirth
not good.
is not great at this time anyway, and to add...
No.
Yeah, genetic problems. In 1516, Ferdinand himself died, and it's thought his end might have been hastened by Germaine giving him a concoction made of bull's testicles.
Oh, good girl.
Intended to... I don't think she was trying to poison him. Well, not as far as I know. It was to increase his virility. I mean, that's what happens when you marry your great-uncle, isn't it? He's not up to it.
Nope.
Yeah, it was to increase his virility, but sadly it had the opposite effect, and he died. But he also might have been suffering from our old chum syphilis as well, so...
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. It's not fun being Germaine de Foix, I don't think.
No.
I'm not sure why it was felt that the bull's testicles were considered necessary, since Ferdinand was apparently bursting with virility.
Well, we'll get to Henry VIII. Wasn't his goat's testicles?
Oh, is that what he took?
I'm pretty sure that's what he was prescribed.
Well, I should imagine he'd look at Ferdinand and think, well, hang on, he's got bull's testicles. What have I got goat's testicles?
What have I got goat?
Bull's testicles, good grief, they're absolutely massive, aren't they? Well, they really are. If you see a bull in a field, you're not going to not...
The worst would be a hog.
You're not going to not notice.
Yes.
Anyway, quote, our king, if he does not rid himself of his appetites, will soon give his soul to the Creator and his body to the earth. He's already in his 63rd year of his life and does not allow his wife to separate from him. And she is not enough for him, at least in his desire, unquote.
Does that mean he's still sleeping with other women?
That means he's still sleeping with other women. Yeah. He's not coming across well in this episode, is he?
He never does.
No.
In any episode. He's intelligent, yes, but not a good person.
I don't think he's aging well.
No.
He's,
Especially not if he has syphilis.
I'm seeing him as a dirty old man now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Dirty Mac, the lot. Yeah, just, yeah. The thrones of Aragon and Navarre went to Juana and her son Charles. And I wondered if Germaine felt bitter about this, since she'd brought Navarre into the family when she'd inherited it from when Gaston died.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Ferdinand left instructions that Charles should look after Germaine. Charles was only 12 at this point and showed Germaine much courtesy to start with. But that soon wore off. I think
That's because Charles is not a good person either.
No, I think he realised he was king and he could do what he damn well pleased, really. It probably
Yes.
took a while for him to think, oh, hang on a minute.
I can have everything.
In 1518, Germaine went with King Charles to hear the oaths of the Cortes in Aragon. And if you remember from Ferdinand's episode, this consisted of the nobles saying, you're no better than we are. We're just as good as you, and don't forget it.
Yeah.
The following year, Charles set Germaine up in a marriage with someone with a triple-barreled name, John of Brandenburg-Ansbach-Kulmbach. He was a friend of Charles and had supported his election. I'm not sure whether Germaine was a sort of a backhander in a way.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was not a happy marriage. He was abusive and debauched.
Oh, gosh.
So, grim. 1520, Germaine accompanied Charles to England, where she met Henry VIII and Catherine of Aragon. And it was said at this time, Germaine and Charles had an affair, which resulted in an illegitimate child.
Wait, Charles the Fifth?
Yeah. Germaine's 32, Charles was 20. I mean, the age gap is not massive.
No.
It's not impossible, a bit unlikely maybe, but it's not pleasant when you think she was his step-grandmother.
Yes.
I told you genetics was going to get weirder. Yeah.
Wow. I'm my own grandpa.
Yes. 1523, and Mr. and Mrs. Brandenburg-Ansbach-Kulmbach were made Viceroy and Vicereine of Valencia. And Valencia was in a bad way. The wealth from the New World had started pouring into Spain from the west, so the Mediterranean ports were suffering. They weren't really needed anymore. It's all coming from the other direction.
Right.
This downturn in the economy had led to a revolt in 1519 against King Charles called the Revolt of the Brotherhoods. And this extended into xenophobia, because as we've heard, the expulsion of the Jews and Muslims from Castile didn't extend to Aragon, since Ferdinand was more pragmatic and realised,
They bring in money.
yeah, be detrimental to the economy. Yeah. Now, as part of the Revolt of the Brotherhood, there were forced conversions.
Ooh.
When Germaine arrived in Valencia, she decided to quell the revolt. And you do hear about it being her rather than Mr. Brandenburg-Ansbach-Kulmbach. She was completely ruthless and personally signed the death warrant for 100 protesters.
Wow.
In all, 800 executions took place.
Oh my goodness. So she's not a nice person either. I don't feel sorry for her anymore.
No. I mean, if these people were making Muslims and Jews, forcing them to convert, they don't sound very nice either, but...
Yeah, but killing 800 people?
Yeah.
There's other ways to do this.
Well, by December of the following year, she felt she'd made her point and issued a pardon for the few people that were left.
For the few people, the two.
Then King Charles went to war with France, more of that next season, no doubt, and Germaine's husband pawned all her jewels and silver plate for the war effort, hopefully with her permission, but by the sound of him...
Oh, I doubt it.
Yeah. 1525 saw the Battle of Pavia, where Richard de la Pole died, and Francis I was taken prisoner and was brought back to John and Germaine in Valencia under a sort of house arrest. Probably quite a nice house arrest, I should think. There appears to be no hard feelings, since when John became seriously ill, Francis offered to send for his own doctor. Might well have accepted, I've been caught. You've been given the job of looking after me. That's how it is. There's no reason for us to fall out about it. But John died in July 1525. I'm not sure whether Germaine had been feeding him with bull's testicles. It worked the first time, you're probably thinking.
It worked last time.
Yes.
Let's try this again.
Get rid of him. Just a year later, she was married again, and to another Ferdinand of Aragon.
Really?
Yeah. A cousin of the first one. He was the son of King Frederick of Naples, who had been deposed during the Italian Wars. Young Ferdinand of Aragon had been taken prisoner and brought to Spain, where he became friendly with the older Ferdinand of Aragon. So obviously that was a while back, when she was still married to the older Ferdinand of Aragon. Germaine continued as vicereine of Valencia with Ferdinand this time, and she was very keen on the unification of Spain, and moved the language used in Valencia from Catalan to Castilian, which probably didn't make her very popular, I wouldn't think.
No.
She was married to Ferdinand for 12 years.
Happily?
We don't hear otherwise.
I'm going to assume that means happily then. I'd rather people be happy.
Yes, and she's had a couple of dodgy ones. It would be nice if...
Yes.
1538, she died, probably of dropsy, brought about by obesity.
Okay, what is dropsy? Is that a... No, because they called a stroke.
Water retention, I think, isn't it?
Really?
Isn't it? Dropsy?
I don't know. Okay. Dropsy is an old-fashioned term for swelling caused by excess fluid in the body's tissues.
Yeah.
Causes heart failure. Oh, it says causes, but I don't know if it causes that or is a cause of. So heart failure, lung problems, malnutrition, liver disease, pancreatitis, kidney problems, low protein. So it's a result of something else.
Yeah.
It's a symptom of it. In the past, dropsy was synonymous with heart failure.
Yeah, well, I guess so. If she was obese, that's sadly the way of it. She was buried in the monastery of San Miguel de los Reyes, which had been built under her directions. So, it's nice to move into something you've built yourself, isn't it?
Yes.
Her will contained the legacy, quote, "Item, we bequeath and leave the string of 133 large pearls, which is the best that we possess, to the most serene Infanta Isabel of Castile, daughter of His Majesty the Emperor, my son and my lord, on account of the great love we feel for His Highness," unquote. Now, this is a bit odd, because King Charles didn't have a daughter called Isabella.
Oh.
Or did he? Is this the illegitimate child that Charles was supposed to have had as a result of his affair with Germaine on their trip to England?
So it's her daughter, maybe.
Maybe. One historian has suggested that this was the case, but the theory has been pretty much dismissed by other historians.
Oh.
It's thought that Charles' daughter Maria was also known as Isabella, so it might have been an affectionate term. It's probably Maria that got the pearls. But if Charles and Germaine had a child, would it call Germaine Mum or Great-Grandma?
Ooh. Ooh, yeah. Uncomfortable.
And on that happy note, that was Germaine de Foix, what we know of her.
Oh, the poor woman.
Yeah. The life of women at this time.
Yeah, was not great.
It wasn't nice.
Was not great.
But anyway, that's a short one. A short cameo, like they used to be, before they turned into 2 hours or so.
Which is a full episode. That's not a cameo. Thank you for listening.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.